Mauri ora e te whānau. This is a tewhatewha that I carved for my cousin. He was doing a mokopapa for the aunties back home in Pukeho, at Pukeho Marae, and this was a koha for him, for his beautiful mahi. The rako is maire. It's extremely hard, extremely heavy, and has a beautiful smell, but a killer dust. And so I didn't get much of creating the form of the tewhatewha because I didn't want to get heaps of dust in my camera. I did use an angle grinder to kind of get a rough form and a bandsaw, but for the most part, I used just a straight up file and rasp to get that shape, and finished it off with a metal ruler, which you'll see later on in the video as I try to clean things up. This tewhatewha, really, I wanted to kind of just acknowledge the rangatiratanga of my cousin Harley, bringing us all back to the same place, back to Pukeho, to Te Hauke, and also bringing the aunties home to themselves. You know, it was a pretty beautiful day, and this was such a amazing honor to be able to carve this for him. The tewhatewha itself is a weapon that was often used by the rangatira in battle, or the leaders of the war party, and that was because the rapa of the tewhatewha, this kind of axe blade at the top here, wasn't actually used for hitting in the same way that you would with, say, a battle axe, and they would actually hit with that front face there, the staff side of it. The rapa also provided a lot of weight, so that you got weight behind that hit, but for the most part, that axe head there was kind of used to help the rest of the war party navigate. You can imagine when you're in the thick of it and it's up close and personal and there's mud and blood and everything's going down, you can't see a lot, and so to have something that stood up above the crowd and could point the war party in a certain direction, the tauwa, that was really helpful. So that was a way of kind of acknowledging his rangatiratanga. And on this first side here, this takarangi, I used uno nahi, and the reason I did so was to kind of acknowledge one of the kōrero I've heard around uno nahi, where it represents ngaru nui, ngaru roa, and ngaru pai whenua, the three waves that we see. So the large wave, the long wave, and the wave that breaks on the shore. And that was a way to kind of acknowledge our whakapapa as well, you know, the story of Kahungunu being so connected to Tangaroa, and also his eventual coming into wedlock with Rongo Mai Wahine after a pretty dicey surfing experience with her previous husband who didn't make it. The verdict's still out as to how all those series of unfortunate events happened, but here we are, and it's because of that connection that Kahungunu made with Rongo Mai Wahine that we are here and we're alive. So that was a nice way of kind of acknowledging our shared whakapapa. Is like, you know, this cousin Harley, he kind of honongas to a marae down the road from mine, but we both have that strong connection through Kahungunu and Rongo Mai Wahine. So it was a way of kind of a subtle nod to that. I also had this kind of cool little manaya at the top you can see me carving at the moment, and the grain just kind of popped out at me, man. Like, I feel like I didn't actually design this takarangi and this manaya. It was like the grain kind of told me to go that way, and so I did. And I quite like it because he's like the personhood of the tewhatewha, but then he also creates this kind of like the top of the face, right? You know, like his mouth here actually kind of looks like a nose, and that creates like the whole takarangi then becomes the mouth. And so it's quite beautiful in that way. The kind of double meanings, the way that Whakairo can always kind of wrap in over itself and confuse the viewer. It's something that I really, really enjoy. Watch me fully bots it here with the rasp, taking out some of my lines. Oops. You can see me here with that steel ruler now, kind of just smoothing out some of the scratches and just kind of doing a final polish. And now I'm kind of going on to the other side, and this other side was a real challenge. It was there were bizarre features in the wood. So this piece had obviously been out in the weather for a long time. I'd ordered it online without actually going to see it. So when I got it, it was both a pleasant and kind of confronting surprise. You can see here all these like cracks in the rako. It was really dry and brittle, and so I got one good side by cutting the whole slab in half, but the other side here was a bit dry, and I was freaking out the whole time, man. I was like thinking, man, this thing's gonna split on me, it's gonna all pop away. And it was another one of those lessons that you get with Whakairo, where you think you're in control, you think that, you know, you have to do a good job and you have to watch the cracks and this and that, but like the wood goes where it wants to go, you know. And it took me deep into the process before I truly let go and just allowed the wood to go where it wanted to go. And once I let go of that stress, man, like I was like, these cracks are actually really, really beautiful. And it helped the kōrero to emerge from that too. So I decided to design the takarangi to kind of mirror the other side. So it's kind of the exact negative. You can imagine if I had kind of pressed the whakarei on the other side, this would be kind of the way it would press through and outwards from the other side, if that makes sense. You'll kind of get what I'm talking about later on. And the reason I did that was because I kind of wanted to acknowledge both te ao marama, the world of light, the physical world that we kind of inhabit, and te ao wairua, the kind of unseen world, but the world that we experience all the same. And that was another way of like acknowledging his rangatiratanga, bringing our aunties not only home to themselves in a physical way where they could physically wear their moko kauai, but also closer to themselves, our wairua, you know. And so it's funny how these things happen, you know. The wood always kind of tends to speak to you, and if you're willing to listen, you can discover some really interesting kōrero. And I really subscribe to that idea that, you know, like I'm not out here making stories up, man. Like these stories are already here, and I'm not out here designing a tewhatewha. The design is already in there. The grain tells you where to go. You look for the flows, and that's, I think, the reason that I keep coming back to Whakairo. It's the reason that I can't stop carving, is that it's the first time in my kind of creative experience as I've grown older where I feel like I'm truly discovering something that's already there. As I got deeper into Whakairo and I started noticing what was already there, I started to recognize that in music too, and in video and everything that I'm interested in. It might be more of like an additive process where you're kind of adding stems and synths and drums on top of each other to make music, but it's in the same way, it's discovering interesting ideas that are already there. I think if you can avoid yourself taking ownership for ideas, you get out of your way a lot quicker, and it keeps you in that creative space. And I think it's just a much more beautiful way to look at the world, to be honest. There you go, te whānau. That's my lukewarm take for the day. You can see as I'm going through this process as well, like I had to go over everything again and again and again, you know, like quite often when carving something softer like tōtara or kauri, you have a bash with the V-chisel and it all comes out quite slick. Maybe not with kauri, but definitely with tōtara. Whereas with this maire, man, it being so dry, so brittle and so hard, I had to sharpen my chisels every 5 minutes, and just like you can see here, going in with a gouge to the unonahi to get them clean. It was just heaps and heaps of work. Every line probably got approached maybe 4 or 5 times to get to the final product. I boosted down to Te Hauke. Probably got in at about 2 or 3 in the morning. And here's my little cousin doing a karakia over the Tewhatewha. Yeah, the man. Shot Cody. Yeah, so I finished this thing, had a sleep for an hour, got back up 5 in the morning, we did karakia, and then we were down to the marae, and we had a full day, and it was just beautiful. You can see the aunties here with their moko kauai looking amazing. This was also my first time speaking on a marae, you know, like I haven't had many experiences being on the marae, really. This is quite a new journey for me going home. So to be able to speak to the Tewhatewha and to the kōrero and to connect with the cousin Harley as well was just amazing. He actually imbued on me my first piece of moko as well recently, so it was cool to make that connect back up in Tāmaki, and there he is, the man, the rangatira himself, shot. Yeah, what a beautiful project. Anyway, that's all from me. Ka kite.